The sleep is what gets a little messed up from those, but very happy to be back and excited to share what we learned this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, George, how was your travels back from the RD meeting in Austin?
Uh, After 2 days away from my family, we literally landed and then went right out to dinner together. And then they hit me with while we're out, we should go grocery shopping too. So I felt like by the time I got home at 8 o'clock last night, I was like, what happened to my day today?
I feel you. I drove down to Ocean City, New Jersey after we landed last night. So I'm feeling you, friend. It's all
Yeah.
good. But I'm glad you guys made it home safe. And guys, thanks for joining us for Wealth Building Wednesday. It's one of my favorite days of the month. I'm here with some of my amazing regional team members and also a very special guest, at Madison, who's going to be sharing some of her wins with you guys today. I cannot wait to introduce you to Madison and get going there. But before we do, George and I want to share some wins with you that we're experiencing across our region. And so every month, George Kelly, who's our regional tech trainer, pulls numbers for us where we can kind of see, hey, where is Keller Williams in relation to the market as a whole? And how do we do in comparison to our competition and all of that? And on the third Monday, if I'm getting this right, George,
Yeah.
George and I go live and we go on Facebook to share these statistics and to share where we're at. But we were so excited about some of the recent wins that we've had that we wanted to take a couple of minutes today to go over some of those with you before we jump in with Madison. So, George, if you want to share screen, we can get going with that.
So, Michelle, let's start in New Jersey, okay? So, in New Jersey, what we define as New Jersey, everything gets pulled out of Bright MLS, right? And so, every single time we look at one of these sub-regions, which we're going to go through multiple, we break things down New Jersey, Jersey Shore, Philadelphia, Philadelphia suburbs, the state of Delaware, central Pennsylvania. Um, every time that we look at these, our goal is to figure out not just like where we're at, but like where do we rank in combination with our competitors. And in New Jersey, we are at the point where if you add number two and number three together, they haven't sold as much real estate as we have. The only company that has surpassed the 7,000 unit mark. And this comes down to, I think I did this data with you live, but I'll do it again real quick, which is if you say, all right, 7,019 units through the end of August, that means 877 a month divided by 30 days. That's 29 homes a day. 29 homes sold a day. And once you get over 24, that means you sell a home an hour. So
One
our
home per
agents in
hour.
New Jersey sell more than one home every single hour.
Yeah, it's really cool. So when we were looking at New Jersey, you guys, congratulations to those of you who are in those counties, over 7,000 units sold year to date. George, let's look at the next one. I'm going to go through these pretty quick. They can watch the whole presentation
Yes.
if they go to Facebook. But Delaware, my friends in Delaware, look at where we're at. We are over 2,500 units, clear space of number one. And George, it hasn't always been like this in Delaware. Over the last couple of years, we have really taken a stronghold. When we first started looking at these numbers, we were, I think, number three or number four. And
Yep.
so being a very strong number one feels really good for our folks in the state of Delaware. Congratulations to all of those folks.
The city of Philadelphia.
Incredible.
This is in the city, in Philadelphia County itself. Michelle, if you add up Compass and Remax and Berkshire Hathaway, if you add up all of their closed units through the first 8 months of the year, combined, they have not done as much business in the city of Philadelphia as Keller Williams.
That's
6,000
incredible.
units sold in just the city.
Right. And this is just year to date. So
Just year to
these would
date,
go up to August. So that doesn't include the month of September yet. So next month when we do these numbers, we'll have the month of September. So this is just the first 8 months of the year that we're looking at today. And I can't believe it's October 1st already, just to put
right?
that out there.
Yeah, so we get, even though it's October 1st, we don't get data from the previous month until the 8th of the month.
Yep. Over 10,000 units in the suburbs, George.
Absolutely insane. So when we were talking about New Jersey, if you ran those same exact numbers here in the Pennsylvania suburbs and said 10,000 through 8 months, that's 1,279 per month. That comes out to 42 a day, which means that in the Philadelphia suburbs, just Bucks, Chester, Delaware, and Montgomery, we were at the point where we're almost selling to an hour.
Incredible. Incredible. Madison, Central PA, where you're from.
So close.
And we have some really exciting news. You guys might have seen it hit Housing Wire last week. We did welcome the Adam Flinchball team. They did over 100 million in closed sales volume over the last 12 months. I think it was like 100 and like it's a lot. It's like 180 million since the beginning of 2024 till today. So they've recently joined the York Market Center. And George, with them joining now, we can't like say like we're number one, but we know that as Adams units, and we've got a couple of other big producers that have joined us in Central PA, as those units start to be calculated under the Keller Williams umbrella, it positions us to be a very, very strong number one because he did come from Remax, which is would end up being a 600 unit
Swing.
swing, which puts us in the number one spot. If you guys haven't seen the Housing Wire article that came out, you can find it on my Facebook page, or I think we shared it out as a region as well. It's a really awesome article, so make sure to share that if you want to go and welcome Adam and his team over to KW. And where
Jersey,
I'm at today.
that's it.
So I'm at the Jersey Shore today, and they are clearly number one. They're at 1,600 units year to date, the only company to surpass that and have a decent size lead over Berkshire in
Yeah.
that area.
When we were started this analysis of when we first overtook Berkshire, right, for going from number two to number one, we literally finished that year 6 units ahead of Berkshire. Like, so at the point now where it's like every single month that goes by, the gap just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yep.
And
And
then last
last but
but not
not
least,
least,
the
Greater
greater.
Lehigh Valley. Greater Lehigh Valley, again, number one, over 2,000 units. And again, very well positioned in that spot. So, George, why do you think it's important for the agents on this call to know these statistics, and how would you use them as a top producer yourself, someone who is in the the top 100 of our region? How would you use these to help you get more business?
So I relay them to agents by thinking through the lens of a consumer. If I'm driving around a local area, I'm looking at every single sign that I see in the lawn, right? And when I drive through an area and I see one brand continuously over and over and over and over and over again, that makes me feel like if I'm a seller in that area, like, oh, that's the company that does the most business around here. So when you see us at that number one position, you're not like, oh, all right, well, they're number one because they're good at what they do. Yeah, we are. But in the minds of the consumer, they are continuing to choose our agents at this larger and larger and larger scale because when they drive around, they see the signs in the lawn, right? Like that's how these numbers actually get bigger and bigger and bigger over time. It's not so much that we're changing the way that agents think about real estate. We're changing the way the consumer thinks about real estate, not with billboards on the side of the road, but with signs in the ground. which is really like that is an extremely powerful thing when you think about it from an agent side of things. Do you want to work where the consumer thinks all the real estate gets done?
Yeah, I love that. I think that the way that I'm looking at it today, George, and in the context of us being on a wealth building call, our primary source of income for a lot of us on this call is selling real estate, right? And so if I'm thinking about how am I going to grow wealth, I think the first domino is making sure that I have my plan in place for how I'm going to generate my income. And if I want to position myself to get to win listings at the kitchen table, if I want to position myself to make sure that those buyers want to choose me, number one, it's all about ourselves and like the value proposition that we're bringing. And if you need a little bit of help, if you're newer to real estate or you want to just showcase to the consumer, if you're trying to go up against someone else and you can say, listen, in our area, we are number one, and here's the statistics, and here are all the things. We have the biggest influence. We have the most, the most homes that are selling. I think all of those things really matter because at the end of the day, we want you guys focusing on profit because your profit is what's going to be able to drive your wealth building journey. And so that's the way that I was thinking about it today when I was thinking about, if we put a flag in the sand and we said we want our associates to be the most profitable associates out there. I think the best way that we do that is all of us joining forces and doing it together. And together our numbers look incredible. So George,
Profit,
thank you.
profit
Appreciate.
over perception.
That's right.
Profit over perception.
I love that, George. George, thanks for being willing to share the slides with us. Guys, if you want a more detailed deep dive into that, you can go find the full recording that we did on Monday on our Facebook pages. But I really am so excited for you guys to meet Madison. Madison, hi, welcome to the call.
There we go. I had to get unmuted. Hi, I'm excited to be here.
Nice to see you. Madison, let's give everybody, can somebody spotlight me and Madison, so just so we're on the screen. Madison, I want to start by having you introduce yourself to everybody and giving them a little bit of a background of who you are.
Just in case, Michelle, did you click off there for a sec?
I think I'm back.
Oh,
I'm in
right.
a hotel
I was gonna
room,
say.
so
Okay, thank you.
I'm in a hotel room. So George, if my Wi-Fi gets spotty, you're up, friend.
Yep, I'm on it.
So Madison, my question was if you could just introduce yourself to everybody.
Yes, absolutely. So been in real estate 3.5 years now. I got my license fresh out of high school when I was 18. I am a solo agent. Obviously, I do have an admin, but it's just me and her. And I own 3 rental properties. And last year, I did 6 million in sales, and this year I'm tracking for about 9. So that's a little bit of backstory on me.
I love it. I love that you started your journey right out of high school. And when you and I were talking about the call, you had some decisions to make, right? Like you were young, you're coming in, you're trying to figure out what you want to do. Why did you decide to get into real estate and not take a different path?
Yeah, so my parents were not paying for college, and I was obviously going through all the numbers. And I read a book called Debt Free Degree, and that sort of just made me realize I was not going to be able to pay this off until I was in my 40s. And that would really put me behind, obviously. So it was COVID era, so I was Googling, of course, and looked up like best way to make the most amount of money without a college degree. And it was number one sales and then number two real estate. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just give this a try for a few years. And then if it doesn't work out, then I'll go to college. So that was sort of what started it for me. And then I got into Googling about investing and then just realized it would be a perfect thing to go hand in hand with each other.
Yeah. So we were kind of joking around when we were meeting, and I said, now you can officially buy your thank you gifts or your closing gifts,
Yes.
because you said
Yes.
that when you were first getting in, your mom was buying the champagne bottles or the bottles of wine because you weren't old enough to do it.
Yeah.
I just
So
thought that
finally
was
in
amazing.
April, I was like, yay, I can buy my closing gifts for clients. So my mom is no longer on the hook for that.
I love that, Madison, so much for so many different reasons. And when we were talking, I said, okay, so you got into real estate. So tell me about your first year in real estate. Did you hit the ground running? What were the first couple of months of your real estate career, and what did those look like?
So I started senior year of high school interning at like a local boutique brokerage, and just sort of doing a lot of like social media behind the scenes. I TC'd some transactions, but this was obviously before I was licensed, so I didn't do anything major. Then obviously I graduated, I turned 18, got my license, and I was her administrative assistant for I want to say like 8 to 10 months. And during that time, pretty much all I did was work full time for her. And then whatever leftover time I did work on my own business and building my own brand. So in that first year, I closed 3 transactions. So that was just, but I was also still I was in college online and then I was working for her full time. So I had limited time to build my own business.
Yeah, you had a lot going on.
Yeah.
And in that first year, what do you think some of your most important lessons you learned were?
Just really being her admin. She was a big top producer, did 15 million a year. So just watching the way she handled herself in super stressful situations, she always stayed calm and she always just crazy phone conversations. I would listen to her driving all over the earth and she's just like calm. And I just watched her. I was like, wow, this is crazy. So I feel like just her demeanor and being able to be with her 24/7, or at least as much as possible, is what really set me up for success.
Yeah. So you had to make a decision from there. So you're finishing out your first year. You did 3 of your own transactions. You're going to school. You're being, you're helping her. What
Yeah.
came next from there? What was the decision that you had to make next to go off on your own and be a solo agent? Like, why did you make that decision, and what were some of the contributing factors around that?
So actually, after that, I was there for a little while, and then I went to Berkshire to be on a team. That was very short-lived. So the team I was there for 5, 6 months. And then so I made that decision to switch to solo. First of all, I realized like all the leads, all the time I was spending generating these people and working on my sphere, they actually still belonged, and all the systems I was setting up, they still belonged to the team, which I signed a contract. I was aware of that, but I was very baby in the industry, so I didn't really comprehend that when I was signing the contract. And I realized that for my goals and to get where I wanted to be, I had to be a solo agent, build my own systems exactly how I want them to be. I don't love being told what to do, so that probably had something to do with it. But yeah, it was very quickly apparent that a team was not for me. Um,
Okay. So had a little pit stop on a team, and then
yeah,
decided to go out on your own so that you
yeah,
could control your own future and
yeah,
do what you wanted to do in that.
yep.
Okay. Anything else important that was going on during that time that you think we should add?
I would just say building a personal brand, especially around everyone that already knows me and I've already had FaceTime with. So they no longer think of me as high school Madison and they start to realize, oh, like she's building a career, like this is what she's doing. They see me on social media, they get my postcards, they get my emails, like just doing that in the background, was
Yeah.
huge for me. Even while I was on the team, I was still building my own brand.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about what you're doing online. Because when you were sharing some of that stuff with me, I thought it was really cool about how you're connecting with your community and the things that you're doing there. So, can you talk to us a little bit about your social media strategy and some of the things that you're doing in that?
Yeah, so you said community, and one of the things I always try and do, I get coffee at local coffee shops all the time, obviously. And whenever I'm there meeting with lenders or whoever, I'll take a picture, I'll take a video, I'll tag the local business. They love that exposure. That's great for them. And then they'll actually repost it on their story. And that gives me a lot of local followers. And then another thing I do is go through the local businesses following, and I'll actually just go through and message them and be like, "Hi, I'm a local realtor, yada yada." Maybe, and they start seeing my face at the coffee shop. They start seeing, oh, she was posted on the coffee shop. Oh, she's messaging me on social media. Who is this girl? And it seems obnoxious, but it really does work.
Yeah. It gets you, it at least has a little bit of like a business to business feel to it where you're helping to promote local companies in
Yeah.
your community and then they can be reciprocal and help get your name out there as well. And I
Yeah.
love that very early on you were doing that. We talked
Yeah.
a lot about just a little bit of your social media strategy and how important it is to be consistent in
Yep.
what you're doing and what you're posting. And I think that we can get into that in a little bit. But I do think that it was a kind of like an important piece that I picked up on when we were talking was how purposeful you were being with telling your story, explaining who you are, especially at a young age. I'm sure, right? Like there's always well, you're 21 years old. Like how can, right? But you're proving that no matter how old you are, you can be super
Yeah.
successful
Yeah.
in the career. So
Yeah. And it's actually surprising because in the beginning, like 18, 19, 20, I got questions all the time like, oh, how old are you? You could be my kid. Like, you look like a baby. And surprisingly, in the past like year, I really haven't gotten that a ton. I mean, obviously, I still look young, but I feel like it has a lot more to do with how you carry yourself and how you speak and
yeah,
your knowledge. So
yeah.
that's been surprising. I'm like, huh, I guess it's not just about the way you look. So
Yeah. Well, you're showing up with a lot of confidence, right? And
yeah.
I think part of that confidence might come with the other part of your journey that you've been on, which is your wealth building journey. And we talked about, you said at the beginning of the call, you have three units now. At 21, you already own three houses. And I was like, wow, we gotta like dissect this a little bit because it's so impressive that at such a young age. And we can talk about the other ways that you're investing as well. But at such a young age, already having three units. And I think the first question that I asked you was, Madison, what did your parents think when you were like, okay, I'm gonna go buy my first investment property? And we were talking a little bit about that. So let's go down that path and let's talk about why did you decide to buy your first property? And then what did you do and what was the process that you went through to get to the finish line with that one?
So I started going to local like investor meetups, investor networking events, started to meet a couple of people, and just talking to them. And the biggest thing they kept telling me, they gave me a bunch of book recommendations, a bunch of podcasts, yada, yada. And they were like, you're so young. What do you have to lose? Take action. Do your research, spend some time, analyze some deals, and then take action. They told me that a ton of investors will just listen to podcasts and read 20, 30, 40 books for years and never actually purchase a property, like analysis paralysis. And they were like what's going to go wrong? You're going to hold these properties for so long. So what? You buy maybe a bad deal, your first property. Just do it. Just take action. So I took that to heart and like a month later had a property under contract. I came home with the contract, told my parents. They were like, "You're insane, but we support you." But yeah, to go back to how I found that first deal, I was in the office cold calling, actually cold calling for seller leads. And I had like older landlords was my criteria. So anyone over 70, I believe, so 65, 70 people who have owned these properties for 20, 30 years as rentals. And I was just going through the list. I had some really great conversations with people I still talk to today because these older investors, they love to talk. They love to share their knowledge, which I'll take. And then they're also phasing out of the industry. So I talked with this one guy. He was like, I actually do have one I'm looking to get rid of. He has a portfolio of about 35 units. And so I still talk to him all the time, but this was 3 years ago and we walked through the property. We agreed to a price and then I decided to pitch him with seller financing because I was so young. There was absolutely no way for me to go to get a mortgage. I don't even think I had a credit card at that point in time. Um, but yeah, I pitched him seller financing. It was a $160,000 duplex that needed quite a bit of work right here, like right down the street from me. So I put 15 or 20,000 down. I think it was 20,000 down on that. And he agreed to hold the loan for 4 years. So it balloons in 4 years at 5.5% interest. So that was a beautiful, beautiful deal for me. I had to come into the property for 20 grand, which is just not possible when when you're
Right.
19 years old. Yeah.
When you're 19 years old and don't even have a credit card yet.
Yeah.
So you had to, but you said it needed some work. So when you had to have saved up some money, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what did that process look like for you? How did you save up enough money to be able to even do it?
Yeah, I mean, I worked a million like weird jobs in high school. So my main source of income in high school was waiting tables. And then obviously I had that year being the administrative assistant. So I saved up everything. Um, and then I babysat. I did a bunch of like random things, whatever I could to get money in my savings account.
So you were waiting tables throughout high school. You worked as the administrative assistant, saved up a lot of money there, and then I think you were telling me I think you had about you had to put some down, and then then you were using the rest of it to fix it up so that you could rent out the units and get it to a place where you could rent those units for what they
Yeah,
were actually worth.
that was the other one I told you about.
Oh, sorry.
This one was actually already rented. So it's cash flowing. It's a great property. It's not up to my standards. We have done a few things, repaired the roof. We've fixed some siding, like exterior wise, but the tenants are both happy. They've both been there for about 6 years. It's my plan to renovate and turn over once the loan balloons.
Okay.
And then at that point, I'll refinance and do all the things. But it's cash flowing nicely. Like my rule is to have every unit cash flow 350 minimum. That's excluding like expenses and capex and all the things. And they're both doing that for me. So I just thought, why not leave the tenants? They're happy, everything's good. So yeah,
That's
that one was an
awesome.
easy one. It was
Yeah.
lucky. Yeah.
So you said that I want to you had your dad go through this one, right? Is this the one that you had your dad go through with
Yes.
you?
Yes.
Because like the first, I think this is an important piece of this puzzle, um, because it was like, I mean, not only are you at this point, you're 18 years old, 19 years old,
19. Yeah.
right? 19 years
Freshly
old,
19. Yeah.
right? Freshly 19 years old, um, in the industry for, a couple of years and don't even have a credit card. And you get into this deal, your dad came, and then it was from there that they were like, you know what you're doing. Like right? It was kind of like they had a little bit of like nervousness, but then they were like, you know what you're
Yeah.
doing, you're good from here.
Yeah. I think it took them like 6 months to realize, like, once all the rent payments came in, once all the craziness was over, they were like, oh, this was a good decision. Like, I'm proud of you. But in the beginning, like, we walked through that property, my dad's felt like it needs work. It does. It's totally livable. It's just again not up to our standards. And yeah, my dad's face, he was like, "Oh, you're gonna buy this. Like this is happening." And it was during the inspection, and some things came back. There were like groundhogs in the basement. There's a dirt floor in this basement, so
Okay.
we're down there with the groundhogs, and then we're up in the attic. There's squirrels in the attic. All the things. He's like, "All right, you're doing this," and then it worked out, and he's proud now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you got your first one, and then at the same time, now you've become a solo agent during this time period, right?
Hmm.
Okay. So now you're a solo agent, you're selling, you're on your own, doing your thing. You bought your first investment property. How quickly after your first one did you buy your second one?
I wrote an offer. I analyzed deals. I tried to buy a second one like 6 months after. Didn't happen. So I was 20 when I bought. It was September. It was exactly like a year ago. So it
Okay.
was September of 2024. So I waited about a year until I found and closed on my next one.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about that second one. How did you
Yeah.
find it? What was the deal like?
So that one was in Midtown Harrisburg, capital of Pennsylvania. And I found it on market. It was listed for about, I think, like 185. It was on market for 3, 4 months. I knew the listing agent, so I just called them and had a conversation, told them no inspections, like clean deal, no appraisal contingencies, all the things. I want this property, but I can't pay more than 125 for it. So he presented it to a seller. Seller said absolutely not. It sat on the market for another month. I went back and I said, now I'll pay 120 for it. And then this seller said, okay. And we went under contract and then we closed. So that was just DSCR loan, typical. It was, the seller said turnkey. It was not turnkey. I put a new roof on it, new LVP flooring, paint. I did do a new kitchen, granite countertops. I just wanted everything to be all good, so that I can put tenants
Yeah.
in there and not have to worry about maintenance and turnover. So that one I bought for 120, and then I put like 28,000 roughly into it. And then it had its seasoning period. It's now rented out for 1850 a month. And it reappraised. I refinanced and it reappraised for 205. So the numbers on that one looked great, and it was a on market deal. Nobody
And you
wanted
were,
it, but
nobody wanted it, but you knew what you were looking for and you knew what
yeah.
you were willing to pay. And you went back like a boss and were like, now I'll pay you $5,000 less. I love that
I
story.
thought he would laugh at me, but it happened. So yeah,
Hey, you had the tenacity and the determination to do it, and that it paid off.
yeah.
And then you refinanced that one and you were able to take some of the cash out of the deal for that one, right?
Yeah, I got almost everything back out that I put into it.
Yep.
So I took out like 70% of the value.
Cool. So refinance that one. Now you're sitting on one that again is cash flowing. So now you have three cash flowing. You have two properties, but three doors. Now you
Yeah.
have three cash flowing units. And then tell me about your third deal. How did you get to that one?
Yeah, so that one is actually, again, cold calling older landlords. I went back to it. So that one is in the works right now, and it actually closes tomorrow at 2 p.m. Everything's good, clear to close. So this again is a seller finance. So this guy's in his mid 60s. It's a single family Cape Cod on half an acre. And it is currently tenant occupied. Again, needs a ton of work. We are closing for, it's probably worth, like as is on market, around 280, 285, and I'm closing for 210 on it. So crazy amazing deal. This one is a 3-year balloon, 6% interest, and only $10,000 down on a $210,000 property. So that's exciting. My
What
closing
is
costs are like next to nothing. I think I already sent the wire. The wire was for 14,000 and some change for a $200,000 property, like a 3-bedroom Cape Cod. So that's exciting, to see that stuff come together with little money out of pocket. So
Madison, how are you pitching owner financing? Like what is like how are you selling that to the landlords? Or
these
to the yeah.
people really do not like paying taxes. So they don't want to have a huge hit on, they own these outright in cash. They're still going to have a hit when it balloons, but in their minds, I have a few more years where I'm getting essentially the tenant payments. I have no more maintenance issues, no more weird calls, no more dealing with the tenants. I'm getting, like, I'm going to be paying them monthly actually more than they were making in rent because their rents are so low. Um, and it's just a hands-off, easy process. He has to show up at closing and he collects interest payments from me too. So it's just all the things together. Um,
Yeah.
you have to kind of like get into the mindset of what an older investor cares about and how they think and how things used to work, and then just pitch it to them.
Yeah. How are you making sure your interests are protected? Like, did you have a lawyer write a contract for you? Like, how does the mortgage like, can you talk to us a little bit about that?
So I'm not like involved in that. I do have an attorney, a attorney owned title company right up the street from me who does all of that, the note, and it's all secured. So I don't 100% know, but I trust him that he did the other one for me. So we're all good. And he does all of my clients' transactions as well. He opened both of my LLCs up for me. So I trust him a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was interesting. You were when we were talking about it, you were sharing because I that was like one thing that we talked about. Like, how are you making sure that you're protected in this? And you were saying, you have an attorney that's doing that stuff for you,
Yeah.
and they know how to do these transactions. Like,
Yeah.
and I think what I walked away from, my aha from that was you didn't have to be an expert in everything. right? And you were like, I'm going to hire the expert to do the loan stuff for me, who knows what's going on. I trust them to do what they need to do. But I
Mhm.
am the expert in is finding these deals and putting these deals together. And so that was what I walked away from on our conversation. I was like, that's such a great like way of thinking about it. Like
Yeah.
you didn't wait so that you were 100% sure of the entire process. Like to what your point was, you got into the deal and you just went forward and you started taking action and you'll figure it out as you go kind of thing.
Yeah, it's the analysis paralysis that can cause so many people like a lot of money. Think about it. You're like
Yeah.
doing research for 4 years. You could have been building equity and appreciation for those years. And I, of course, always like consult other people, other investors on these deals, people I trust, show them the numbers, sometimes walk through the property with them, get their feedback. Because I'm a very emotional person, so I don't want to be making emotional decisions on a business decision. You know what I mean? When it just
Yep.
really should come down to the numbers. Even though I might love the Cape Cod, even though it might have the cutest backyard or whatever, I need to make sure I'm like staying in line by surrounding myself with smart people who can help me run the numbers. And then I have my number and I stay firm on it. And if the seller says something else, then I have learned to back away because that's hard. When you're already
Yeah.
in the nitty gritty with the deal, it's hard to just say, no, this is my number. Like you can take it or leave it. And that's something I've learned recently. So
Yeah. It is really hard because you can get emotionally attached to the outcome, right? You can
yeah,
say,
yeah,
I can just you already visualized yourself in the deal, you already visualized yourself settling and all
yeah,
of those things. And then it's like, oh man, like this actually doesn't make sense. I gotta take a step back. And so
yeah,
learning that lesson's really, really cool.
yeah.
So when we got before we let everybody into the call today, you were saying that you had a little bit of a pop in your business here recently. I was like, how's everything going? You're like, I'm busy.
Yeah.
And did you say you had 6 things under contract right now?
Yes. I have 6 under contract, and she was like, "Oh, what do you think? Like, what's happening? Is it the lower interest rates?" And I was like, "No, it's literally just me putting in the work and lead genning." I mean, a little bit of backstory. This summer, I was in the Caribbean and I went to Europe and like a bunch of places. So pretty much all of July and like half of August, I was gone. So I am back and working, and I started with KW Maps, and that's been amazing. And just setting up the systems and doing the work. And it's like, wow, it works. Shocking.
And now you have 6 under contract.
Yeah.
And what are you on track to close this year?
So my goal was 10 million, and I'm more pacing like 8.5. But it's still possible. My
It
Amber, my
is.
coach, is like, stop saying that. Stop. You're hitting 10 million. I'm like, okay. So
Girl, if anybody's gonna do it, it's gonna be you for sure. I can see it. I can see it. So you got back and you started lead genning. What are some of the ways that you're lead generating for deals right now? What's working for you?
Like I said before, it's mainly social media and Sphere. So I have my 100 Touch program, which just is monthly newsletters to all my people. I do quarterly pop buys. We just did mums. So a cute little like tag in the mums with there was actually a QR code on the side of the mum that had my info and also a link to my fall guide, which has like the best place to go apple picking, to get your pumpkins, the best place to get a pumpkin latte, all the things, which people liked that. And I, of course, then took that same guide and shared it on social media and used it as a lead magnet. So I did like a little post of me at my favorite coffee shop with a pumpkin spice latte. And then I said, comment pumpkin for my fall guide or whatever. And you would be surprised. People comment pumpkin and then they go in my CRM and then they get set up on my 100 touch program, and it'll just go on for a year. They'll be getting it, and then all of a sudden, like literally last month, someone that's been on there I've never talked to, I just set up with my like touch program. They texted me and they were like, "Hey, we're ready. Like we're first time home buyers. What's the next step? Like how do we get pre-approved?" And it's like, "Oh, I didn't know you guys. I thought you were throwing out." I mean, they're probably throwing out my postcards, but like it works.
It
It
does
sounds
work.
it works. Yeah.
Yeah. When you say 100 touch program, what is that? What does that look like? Is it a mix of emails, actual things that are happening? Like, can you go into a little bit of that with us?
Yeah. So, it's my monthly newsletter via email. Then I do one, which I'm working on setting up a second one for next year, but one client event. So this year, the client event is going to be Christmas card pictures. So they can, I wanted to gear it towards little kids, and then I also wanted to gear it towards my sphere, who's like older adults who do not have little kids. So there's going to be Santa there as well. So we're going to do like cookies, Christmas card pictures, all the things. It's at like a cute rustic barn. So that'll be a good way to like give everyone Christmas card pictures without even having to think about it. So client event, pop buys quarterly, monthly newsletters via email, and then I do a monthly postcard as well. And then I do a yearly equity review, which is sort of just a super basic CMA that I throw together for, I only do about like I think last year I did like 80. This year I'm going to do like 100 something. So past clients and then like close sphere, people who I know personally who would find value in this. Just a rough equity review is a rough CMA. It's normally a range. And then I obviously say like, I would need to walk your house. We would need to chat. We would need to go into more depth for this
Yeah.
to be a solid figure. But it helps you gauge like if you want to take out a HELOC, you want to refinance, you are considering moving, how much equity do we have? Like people love to know that. Um,
Yeah.
and then the last thing is everyone gets set up on like a neighborhood nurture so they see what's selling around them.
Yeah. I love the equity review. Do you get a lot of really good positive feedback on that
I
one?
do. I do. Yeah, last year people
Yeah.
loved it. So that's why I'm working on doing that again this year. They're supposed to go out right before the holiday season. So my goal is November for those. So working through them now.
How are you doing all of that? Like, do you have help? Do you have somebody who's helping you pull all of that? Like, or is it just like you sit down and put some music on and like get to work?
Um,
Like, what's going
For
on
that,
there?
for that, it's just me. I do have a coworker who is also working part-time about 20 hours a week for me, showing assistance, writing contracts, and then we do like CEO Mondays so that we sit down from 9 to 1 together, always in person, normally at like the office or a coffee shop, and we just like go over what do you need help with? What's our goals for this week? Like how many contacts are we making? And that's just good accountability for me. But then
Mhm.
she also supports me and I pay her hourly for that help too. So
Awesome.
that's been a big weight off my shoulders is the showing help and the offer writing help too.
Yeah. I love that. When you think about when you're doing your equity reviews, is that something that's getting mailed or is that something that's getting emailed? How does that
That's getting
information
mailed. Yeah.
that's getting mailed?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're getting like a nice presentation, equity review, it's getting mailed to them.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think if I'm going to put that much work into it and actually pull the comps, like it's not some automated thing, like I'm actually sitting there doing it, I think it should be in their mailbox. And I normally add like a little handwritten note. And I take time to put it together. It's not just like an automated home bot or whatever it's called. It's
Yeah.
a little bit
Yeah.
more accurate than that.
I love that. I love that you're taking the time and you know when it's important to slow down and spend time, right? Like it feels one to one. It feels like you're really taking time to like get the information right, get that in front of them. And man, what a tremendous value that they're getting every year from you in that. I can see that it would be a very easy thing for them to recommend you when they know what they're
Yeah.
getting from you and how you're showing up.
And another thing with those two is I always, depending on the person, I'm tailoring it. But if I've heard their piqued interest in conversations about potentially investing, I talk about using that equity in their house to potentially invest in something else. So
Oh,
that's a
I
good
love
way
that.
to turn it into me educating, me getting more investing clients, and me just like adding value. So
I love that. So we're sitting here 5 years from now, and you tell me everything is gone so great. How many rental units do you have? How many doors do you have? What does the next 5 years look like for you?
So my goal is 30 by 30. So in 5 years, hopefully 15 to 20 units. How I engineered that 30 by 30 goal is I knew to live a comfortable, happy life and not be 100% dependent on sales because I want to have kids, I want to have a family, I want to be partly stay-at-home mom when I'm 30. I needed about $10,000 in cash flow a month to live comfortably. So that just comes down to each rental property cash flowing 350 a month. So
Yep.
that's my goal right now. All the units that I currently have do a little bit better than that. So I'm just trying to keep it at that average 350
Yeah.
per.
And by that point, because you're 20, are you 21 still? Yeah,
Yes.
April, you'll be 22. So,
Yes.
and by that point, not only will your rents have gone up, but also the equity position that you have in all of those properties will go up as well. And if you have 30 of those, I think you're going to be well past your goal of $10,000 per month in passive income, which is really
Yes.
exciting.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so what was something that I should have asked you that I didn't?
I don't know. I feel like you covered everything pretty well. I would just say I want to emphasize like taking action and also just talking to people around you, talking to investors, going to those investor meetups. Sometimes they're just like dumb rah-rah sessions and no one actually does anything in the room, but there's that one time where you meet some guy who has 100 property portfolio and he wants to sell some. Like just getting out there and talking to other people locally in the investing industry is huge. And then just going on the MLS too and analyzing deals. Even if you're not ready to buy, just sort of knowing the numbers, running the potential expenses, running the rent roll. If not for yourself to purchase something, at the bare minimum to be a good realtor and to be able to help investor clients and to be able to help people who potentially want a house hack or maybe want to rent out their current property and purchase another. Just being well versed in the investing world is something that I feel like a lot of realtors lack in. So learning that is important.
Yeah. What are you consuming in terms of your own education? Is there a favorite podcast, a book? You named a book earlier. Is there anything that like you really find is really helpful in helping you, number one, like with your mindset about all of this, and number two, like staying current with like what are the things that are working for investors today?
Yeah, so Bigger Pockets podcast is my favorite, and then Pace Morby on YouTube talks about subject to deals, seller financing, creative financing strategies. He goes into depth about that. So those are my two favorites that I watch pretty regularly.
Awesome. I want to turn it over to anyone else who might have a question or wants to go a little bit deeper with Madison. If you want to take yourself off mute or raise your hand, love to love to see anything you have, or you can drop questions in the chat. Guys, seriously, let's drop some love for Madison in the chat while we're doing that as well, because man, I'm so impressed, Madison. Hey, Monica, how's it going?
It's going wonderful. I am so impressed. I can't believe you're 21 and I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm 33 by the way. I'm in Delaware and I just bought my first duplex.
That's awesome.
So I'm
Congrats.
renovating. Thanks. So I'm renovating it and I was just curious, how do you find your people, like your contractors? How do you like, because being new is kind of like, oh, obviously you talk to people and it's just like some people are like, have licenses, some of them don't, and just how
Yeah.
do you and the second question to that is, are you using your own money or are you using someone else's money?
Yeah, so contractors, I again leverage all of those local investor groups. So posting in there, asking for recommendations, doing your research on the person, and then I always get at least two quotes just to compare. Being young and being a female, it's, you get some like crazy quotes that you're like, this can't be right. And so always getting a second opinion. Um, yeah, just again, we're realtors, so we're pretty resourceful. Talking with people in your office and getting those handyman referrals is huge.
Mm,
Oh, money. I use other people's money, so DSCR loans, but of course you still, I'm not doing hard money loans, so I still need to put 20% down. But I just like that personally because I want to have more of a stake in the property. I want to have that 20% equity in case the market shifts or anything goes wrong. I don't want to be 100% leveraged. That's just my own personal strategy. Also, why I'm focusing more on single family properties just to protect myself. But I think there's no harm in doing hard money. You just have to do it the right way and make sure your numbers are positive.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
We have a tell us about the mobile home flips.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Who is that? Horse Farms. So yes, I have flipped 5 mobile homes. I talked to a client who's out of the Philly area. He wanted me to list some of his mobile homes, and I was like, "Why do you have all of these? Like, what's the story?" He was like, "This is what I do full time. I flip mobile homes in parks. In parks is the caveat because no investor in their right minds, or so I thought, would ever touch a mobile home in a park." But I learned that he actually finds these for under 10 grand on Facebook Marketplace of all places, Craigslist. Um, like random newspaper ads. So you buy them, obviously cash. There's just a title. It's a pretty simple process. I just go right to Harrisburg to PennDOT, transfer the title, purchase it, and then um, using a handyman to renovate these is a lot. Like it does not cost a lot of money to do a full mobile home renovation. I'll just give you like rough numbers on one I did. It was in Mechanicsburg, so again, central Pennsylvania. I purchased it for 4,000. It was a single wide. It was a 2 bed, 2 bath, so it was about like 900 square feet. It was a 1990. We again purchased it for 4, and then I ended up putting. I was all in for 20, so I put about 16,000 into it, and then we sold it for 38. So the spread on these is like crazy. And like, yeah, it was shocking. It wasn't in horrible condition. The biggest thing was it needed new HVAC and new roof, which is why I was able to get it at such a big deal. The roof was leaking, and so dealing with a park is insane. I don't know if I should be sharing my secrets, but um, dealing with parks is very difficult because you have to get park approved. They run your credit. They don't love working with investors. But if you're just, I found if you're very kind and you explain the situation and how it's going to benefit the park, you'll have no issues. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. Like that one was beautiful. My other ones were decent. My worst one is going on right now. So I think I will stop the mobile home flipping for a little while. I'm about to lose like 4 to 5,000 on this one because it was unfortunately I purchased a mobile home older than 1976, which is not financeable, so it needs to just be cash, which I knew. I thought it was such a great deal. I thought for sure it would sell no problem. Apparently, mobile homes pre 1976 are very hard to sell. So I learned my lesson there. I'll
Lessons
say it's
learned.
not. Yeah,
It's like tuition, right?
yeah,
That's the way I look at those things. It's tuition that you had to
yeah,
pay.
yeah.
But that's really interesting. A mobile home flips. Something new I learned today, Madison. You got lots of really, really positive comments. I hope that you get a
Aw.
chance to look at all of those. Matt said 90% return, right? That's incredible. That is seriously incredible. Does anybody else have any oh, somebody said, how did you find the local investor meetups?
There's a app called Meetup that we use here in central Pennsylvania. That a lot, it's like a red logo. It's a big M on the App Store. I don't know if your area has that. But I would just put in, it's also Facebook groups. So put in like wherever you're located, investor meetup or investor group, investor mastermind, all those things. Join all of those. Introduce yourself, ask for recommendations, just also add value. Don't just ask, but it's a great place
Yeah.
to meet people.
Yeah. Madison, I'm so impressed by you. I'm so excited that I had a chance to meet you and to hear a little bit of your journey so early on. I hope you get a chance to read all the comments. You got so much love coming your way, and we're all cheering you on, friend. It's going to be fun to watch your journey as you continue to grow and continue to build. And it's so cool that we got a chance to touch base with you now so early on. And I literally can't wait to talk to you a couple of years from now and just to see everything that you've done and how you've grown. Thank you for being willing to be on Wealth Building Wednesday with us today.
Oh,
I really
absolutely.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
happy to do it. Thank you.
Everybody, let's drop some love in the chat for Madison. Thank you guys so much for popping on today. We meet the first Wednesday of every month. We're going to have another one coming to you in the month of November. And again, Madison, thank you so much. And it was nice to see all of you today. I hope you have some amazing wins this month, and we will see you again in November. Have a good one, everybody.